Slow, time moves fast. In this dance we call the past. Mental health, a fragile thread, but we'll find strength. Let love spread. Life's a climb. Just take a step. Rise above. Find your breath in the darkness. We will find a shining light to free our mind. To free our mind. Self-growth blooms like petals bloom, shedding tears will heal the wounds and the chaos. Let's find peace, embrace the pain, let it release.
Relax your mind. It's divine time. What's good? What's good? What's good? It's your boy Downly Divine. I'm here again with an episode of Divine Time. I'm going to start trying to do at least 2 to 3 episodes alone a week. And then that way on Saturdays, I can go ahead and do my panel discussions. The panel discussions are amazing. They are great. I have amazing individuals on there every week. And with it, we talk about many different topics. Usually we pick out the topic at the end of the panel, usually offline, so you wouldn't see that. But I am working some things, and I'm in the midst of doing some things. So once it's done, I will go ahead and speak about it. I ain't gonna let nobody try and stop my blessings, so I'm not gonna put it out there yet. But today, I kind of want to talk about life lessons. A lot of people go through things. And I think one of the biggest disconnects is that nobody really shares the knowledge of what they've gone through with other people, especially like with their family, their kids and things. So therefore making it to where their kids are growing up and having to go through these same life lessons that their parents and ancestors have gone through, but it could have been avoided if someone had informed them. Now, granted, kids will be kids. Like they're not always going to listen. Hell, when we were children, we didn't really listen to what our parents said, but there were some things to where after we get done doing it, we're like, oh, damn, mom told me about this or dad told me about this, making it to where next time you're in a situation, you're like, you know what, I remember my mom or my dad or such and such tell me about this. They were right about all this other stuff. Let me go ahead and avoid this or let me move differently, So with that, I found a couple of things and kind of want to touch up on it a little bit. So with that, let's go ahead and get into it. Don't show your weaknesses. People will enjoy the show. Don't be weak in front of them. One thing that I got to say about this one is there's going to be a lot of individuals who will act like they're on your team, like as if they're going to be rooting for you. But as soon as you show your weakness, some people may not say something, but others may just be hanging around you trying to find out what your weaknesses are to try and use them against you. I'll give a little story, and that's one thing. I've been through a lot of things in my life, so I have a lot of things that I can usually relate to. Here's a story about a most recent situation, which honestly I don't really even consider it a weakness. But this person thought that they can take it and turn it in, make it seem like it was a moment of weakness for me, which is perfectly fine. I had met these individuals. It was a lady that I was on a podcast with before, and I'm not going to sit here and slander anybody's character because I'm not like them. I mean, they want to tell lies about me. I could tell the truth about them, but there's a time and a place for everything. And in all honesty, I'm sure is the way that they are, there's enough individuals who will speak up eventually, because this is 2024, the year of truth. And a lot of truth is coming out, But with it, they were upset because the fact that I knew a lot about them and what they have done to other people. It sucks that I'm always end up knowing things. That's just how I am. I'm always paying attention to things that's going on around me. I'm not trying to learn things about people, but I do. And when people find out that you know things about them that can get them in trouble or whatever, of course, they're going to make you the bad person. So with it, I was in this polyamorous group and where I'm located currently. And so happened to be that they were in there. They end up taking a time where was driving across country with my sister and husband, moving their family across country from Nebraska down to North Carolina. It was a couple years back, and long story short, there I ended up having a PTSD moment. It took me back to a situation that I didn't like thinking about, but with it, she had called me and they were calming me down, just like reassuring me, like, "Yo, da da da, you're good, and everything's good, and everything." I thank them for that, but the crazy part is here we are years later, and they want to take that moment and try and twist it to make it seem like I'm mentally unstable. So everybody who was in there, which none of the people who were in that group knew me. So there was no point on me trying to defend myself or even speak the truth about them, because they already had their flying monkeys and people who think that they know who these people are. And with that, all these people started attacking me, saying that, "Oh, I'm crazy," and all this stuff. And I'm like, "Y'all don't even know me." I'm like, "Yo, I have proof of what these people are, but of course, it's not going to do anything because y'all already think y'all know who these people are." So, and it's crazy because when people think that they have some weaknesses of you, they're going to wait to a time to where they feel that you're vulnerable or you're alone, and then they're going to try and exploit that weakness. I mean, I feel it's a coward thing to do, but it's ultimately what they do. And as many times as I've seen it happen, or even that it's happened to me, it never fails. They always, people will hang around you, act like they like you, just to try and find the things that they feel are wrong with you, or things that they think will consider as a weakness. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. I'm going to read that one again, okay? Don't show your weaknesses. People will enjoy the show. Don't be weak in front of them. Now, for the next one, don't stick with bad friends just because you've known them for a long time. There was a saying: everyone who enters your life is a lesson or a blessing. Some people who enter your life, they are able to, they're a blessing because they'll do things for you without you asking, and they won't ask anything of her in return. And I mean, it's just the fact that that's who they are. I happen to be one of those people. I don't seek anything from anybody. I'm like, if I see someone needs help, I'll help them just because it comes from the kindness of my heart. I don't ask anything in return. I mean, the crazy thing is, I've had multiple people in the past be like, "Oh, well, I'm sure later on you're going to ask about this." I'm like, "I'm sure I won't." They're like, "We'll see." You can ask them to this day. If I've ever asked them for anything, they'll be like, "Nah, he hasn't." I don't expect anything. I mean, the golden rule: treat others as you would want to be treated. And I mean, every time that I end up helping other people, it always ends up coming back to me. I don't need to ask for anything. I just, from my good deeds, it returns back to me. And so therefore, even if I lend people money, the money ends up coming back to me somehow. Either people will end up just giving me a tip, or people will end up buying my food or buying something for me, and it comes out to almost the same amount as what I had lent to somebody. So I never really worry about that stuff. When it comes down to your friends, sometimes you outgrow them. Everyone who enters your life is a lesson or a blessing. You have some people who come in and they seem cool and everything, and it really, they're there to teach you a lesson. They might not even realize that they're there to teach you a lesson. What I mean by that is they're in your life. And I guess the reason they were in your life is to teach you something that you were lacking, or something that you didn't realize that you needed. For example, there was an individual who was in my life, and I did not understand exactly why he was in my life. We always used to cut up. We did some whole shit together. Let me put it like that. And a situation had arose where or a couple of situations have arose, not necessarily with me per se, in all these situations, but it really showed his character and how much of a coward he is. Um, but with that, I wasn't there on a couple situations, but I was there on some situations. And some situations, it showed me that, you know what, looking back at the times with this individual, it showed me that he was put in my life to teach me boundaries, to really how to say no. And just because someone is there and they seem cool doesn't mean that they're there for you. I hope that makes sense. Everyone who's there for you is not there for you. A lot of people can talk, but their actions will choose otherwise. I mean, it was interesting because I saw a lot of qualities of myself in this individual. Granted, this person is older than me. And that, looking back at it now, that kind of tells me a lot because I needed to grow up. At that time, I needed to grow up, and dealing with this individual was kind of halting my growth. I didn't see it as that way at that time. And just because we had a lot of fun together, there was really no growth between the friendship. So with that, I had no choice but to bid adieu to that relationship. It was fun while we hung out and the things that we did, but you're not adding anything to my life. If anything, you're taking more from my life than adding. So with that, are you really a friend? Because in all honesty, my peace is my peace. I can have that by myself. If I bring someone into my life, they need to add to that peace. If you're taking away from my peace, I guess that means that I need to release you in order to regain my peace, because my peace is something that I hold very, very close to me. Ignoring red flags because you want to see the good in people will cost you later. That right there is so true. There's been many times where people will ignore red flags just because of the fact that they want so hard to see the green flags in an individual, overlooking these red flags just for those red flags to come bite them later on in the backside. I actually was talking to somebody not last night, but I think the night before. He was talking to me about how he's talking to two girls right now. And with him talking to these two girls, one girl is showing him everything that he wants and everything that he is looking for. She's checking all the boxes, and the other girl kind of seems like she kind of gave up. I told him, I was like, look, when it comes down to situations like this, you have to think about it. If you're lacking in some things, you're going to see those things that if you're lacking in something in a relationship, you're going to see all those things in another person, because that's ultimately what you feel that you're missing. So because the fact that you are missing that and you seek that, you're going to see all that. Those are going to be the first things that you see. Therefore, you're going to be ignoring the red flags that are going to be slapping you in the face, because you're so focused on the good things that you don't have currently. And then later on down the line, you're going to make a choice and you're going to pick the wrong thing because it looked right at that time. Just to find out as time goes on, that person is everything that you don't want. Do not sit there and overlook red flags because of the fact that you really enjoy the person. In the Whenever you get into a relationship, we have this thing, we call it NRE, that new relationship energy. That's almost like the honeymoon phase where you're all googly eyed over the individual. And I mean, let's take this out of a relation standpoint. Let's just go to a friend's standpoint. You end up meeting someone and y'all go out and y'all both for clubbing and y'all are buying drinks for each other. Or even if it was ladies, y'all went out and y'all talking, y'all gossiping and everything, just enjoying the little conversation of tit tat. Everything seems cool. You don't see a reason why not to be with this person. But the thing that you're neglecting to remember is while y'all were out, you recognize that they have like three, four previous partners, and recognizing them, not really having anything good to say about them, or who you're with doesn't really have anything good to say about them. And it was always just some kind of situation that the other person had caused. That should be a red flag. But of course, you overlook that. You don't see it as a red flag. You just see it as the person is venting about a previous relationship. When in all honesty, this person is playing victim in all these previous relationships. That should make you wonder, you don't have anything good to say. You're not saying what you have done in those situations. You probably are the one that caused the issues in those relationships. But that's just something to think about. So again, ignoring red flags because you want to see the good in people will cost you later. either legally, financially, emotionally, and sometimes possibly even physically. Holding grudges will never harm people you hate, only you. The thing about holding grudges is, think about this. If you're angry at someone and they're not thinking about you, do you really think that they're going to be affected by how much you hate them? No. So you holding a grudge is going to elevate your blood pressure and cause you to possibly have a stroke or heart attack or something like that, because the fact that you're so focused on this individual who's not even thinking about you. Harboring feelings towards someone in a negative way does more damage to you than it does to them. Why kill yourself over someone who's not even thinking about you? I did an episode with my sister Dolly and my brother Impossible and Mr. Sigma Uno. And who else was on there? Bianca. It was forgiveness. Forgiveness is something that is very difficult to do just because of the fact that you have to learn to detach your emotions from the memory that you have, your reality. So that way, when you think about the situation that had happened, you have that still in your head as a reminder of what not to do, how to move around if a situation like that comes about again, or even recognizing signs that could lead to that situation, while at the same time detaching your emotions from it so that way you do not end up, your amygdala does not send you reliving that moment again. I hope that makes sense. It's difficult to do, and it's definitely a lot of work, but it's so worth it in the end to be able to sit there and learn from a situation without having to live through that situation again. With my forgiveness, I was able to go through and relive the bits and pieces that I remember of a situation of when a previous partner took advantage of me. I'm able to detach my emotions from it to where I can think about it, and I'm not wishing ill on them or anything like that. I do wish that she lives the life that she deserves, but other than that, it's like, you know what? Thing happened, it happened. What can I do to avoid that in the future? What steps can I do to make sure that nothing like that happens to me again? I'm not going to forget whatever happened, but I'm not going to harbor those emotions and those feelings over what had happened. Because me sitting here wishing the person would die, or me sitting here and being angry, resentful, and things like that, what does that do? Nothing. All it does is put me into a headspace to where I'm not going to be able to think clearly. I'm not going to really be able to do anything with a clear mind. Practicing mindfulness will really teach you how to be here and now. Here and now. Let me stop. I can't sing. I'm sure I just lost a lot of people because I just made their ears bleed. I apologize. But that's something we all need to work on, is forgiveness. Holding grudges will never harm people you hate, only you. It's a very strong one. Never overlook contempt. When someone views you with contempt and talks to you like you're beneath them, they will likely do you harm, whether relationally, socially, or physically. Remove that person from your life. Ooh, that's a good one. I swear I have stories for everything. It's crazy. Me and my partner were in a previous polyamorous relationship with this other couple, and the wife would always end up saying things as if we were children, almost like trying to order us around. It's very annoying. I confronted her about it before. I was like, don't talk to us like we're children. I was like, you act like you're above us, or we're beneath you. Um, Here's an example. There was a time where she was like, well, we need to, she was like, well, they need to, we're trying to lay a foundation before we end up moving. And if there's no foundation that's set, then we're just wasting our time. I'm like, okay. So it sounds like you're trying to tell us that we need to speed up to make y'all comfortable. Otherwise, this isn't going to work. She said, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm like, then what are you saying? She's like, well, if this foundation isn't set before we leave, then what are we doing? I'm like, again, sounds like you're trying to tell us that we need to speed up to make y'all comfortable. Otherwise, this whole thing is just a waste of time. She's like, no, that's not what I mean. I'm like, so what do you mean? She's like, I'm just saying that we don't have a whole lot of time if we're going to make this work. I'm like, okay, so fuck our boundaries and we need to do what you want. Red flags. But again, that was back then when I gave a fuck about trying to make things work with other people. Now I'm just like, nah, because there's people who will try and take advantage of you so quickly. If anybody sits there and tries to talk as if you're below them, they really do not see your worth. And if you do not know your self worth, if you do not know your worth, you're going to allow people to walk all over you. This right here comes with boundaries. Boundaries is something that you do when you know what it is, when you know yourself and when you know your self worth. For example, if you're an electrician, O1 or O2, and you know you have to do a job, you're not going to lowball the job because the fact that you know what you're worth. Excuse me. You're not going to tell someone, oh, yeah, it's going to be 500 for this when you know damn well the amount of hours that you're going to have to spend doing the job, plus the buying the materials. You know that it's going to be more than that. Why are you going to come out short? Same concept. When someone is talking down to you, you know what your worth is. Always stand 10 toes down on business, and that business is you. You never want to sell yourself short. You never want to be talked to as if you are nothing, or especially beneath someone. Because most likely the people who are sitting there talking down to you, they feel like they're so high and mighty because they have not been put down to where they really need to be. Nobody has really talked to them or put them in their place yet. We have a lot of cowards in this world, a lot of people who won't stand up for themselves or for what is right. You should probably start working on your self-worth so that way you can go ahead and get your throat chakra aligned so that way you can speak up on things. You hear me? Never overlook contempt. When someone views you with contempt and talks to you like you're beneath them, they will likely do you harm, whether relationally, socially, or physically. Remove that person from your life. One of my biggest life lessons is we heal at the speed of our forgiveness. Ooh, like I said earlier, forgiveness. You will never heal until you forgive. I say again, you will never heal until you forgive. What I mean by that is anytime that you are holding on to things, when you're harboring emotions, ill emotions at that, you cannot heal. It's physically impossible for you to heal. It's equivalent of every single time your blood tries to coagulate, you pour water on it so that way it never scabs up. But then it's going to come back up again. You pour water on it again. It comes back up again. You pour water on it again. And when I say that, I'm talking about those who their blood, it's hard for it to actually start to scab. And I mean, or even use this situation. You Let's say it does start to scab and you pull that scab off. Now you have an open wound again. So it's equivalent to where you're mad about something, you say, "Nah, I'm done with it. Fuck it, whatever. Whoop de woo." You go and do what you're doing, but then a thought ends up popping into your head, making you think of that person, or someone brings up that person's name, makes you think of that situation, or you see that person and it sends you back down memory lane. You never really forgave that person, which, in all honesty, forgiveness is not really for them; it's for you. It's the same way to where if you're holding in these emotions, you're doing more damage to yourself because you're not doing anything to them. In all honesty, you forgiving them might, in this day and age, probably hurt them more than you staying mad at them because most likely these people are trying to siphon your energy. They want you to be upset. They want you to be upset with them because then they know that they still have you as their slave. Don't ever allow someone to take you out of your character because then now you're going to be their mental slave. Thank you, Dolly. I appreciate those words. Very strong and powerful. I appreciate it. The best thing and the biggest thing that I want anybody to take from this is going to be forgiveness. There's a lot of things that people do to us that are wrong. The best thing you can do is forgive. You're never going to forget. You can detach those emotions. That's going to take a while to do, but you're never going to forget. But you can forgive. You can forgive yourself for the things that went through your mind, possibly the things that put you in that situation. Forgive yourself for what you did that caused that. Because I'm sure it wasn't like you just walked by and then boom. I mean, then again, in the old days with racism and things like that, it could have been. You were just born. But forgive them for what they not forgive them for they not know what they do. I mean, when the time comes, you do want your heart to be weighing less than a feather, right? The best way to attain that is going to be forgiveness. Again, forgive, never forget. One of my biggest life lessons is we heal at the speed of our forgiveness. The longer it takes you to forgive, the longer it's going to take you to heal. What we fear doing most is usually what we most need to do. A lot of times there's people who want to start a business but are afraid to start a business based off the fact that they're afraid of what's going to happen. Are they going to fail? And sometimes people are even afraid of it actually taking off. I'm not going to lie. When I started my podcast, I was like, I'm not trying to do this to monetize it. I don't want it to grow big. I just wanted to reach those that it need to be reached. My partner was like, well, if you wanted to reach those that it needs to reach, that means you're going to end up gaining some followers and everything. And when I started gaining some followers and views and stuff, I'm not gonna lie, I got a little overwhelmed. I got a little flustered. I was like, oh shit, people are paying attention to this. What the fuck? Thank y'all for the 1,000 views, by the way. So it was very shocking. I was like, dang, I feel relevant. Then also at the same time, with the amount of people who were constantly trying to do things to make it to where I wouldn't have a podcast or telling me that my podcast would never amount to anything. Random people telling me, oh, your podcast sucks, and all this. And it's just like, okay, don't allow it to get to me. I couldn't allow it to get to me because I really enjoy doing this. This is something I do for my mental health. That I have a lot of knowledge and wisdom within me. I've been through a lot of things, and putting it out there to where I can possibly impact and help other people, it really feels good. It's it's very therapeutic on my end. This is the reason why I do this. And I love the fact that I have people come back with feedback and tell me like, yo, this and this, I really resonate with that, or hey, I thank you for your platform. It's a very relieving thing to listen to, knowing that other people have gone through similar situations. And that's one of the reasons why I tell people, I'm like, look, I have a segment on there called Speak Your Truth. We all have been through things in our lives that most likely others have gone through as well. You never know who may need to hear it. So if you want to come speak your truth, go ahead and hit me up on my email. And with that, we can set up a time for you to go ahead and vent, let it out. Forgive if you need to forgive, if you're still working on it, to release some things that are heavy burdens on you, while at the same time impacting others, letting them know that nobody can stop time. This too shall pass. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. You made it out, so can they. What we fear doing most is usually what we most need to do. If you're afraid to do it, the worst thing to do is not even start. The world will not become kinder to you just because you are a good person. Good people are the ones who are played with the most. Unfortunately, oh my gosh. Unfortunately, that is so true. Good people are the ones that are oftentimes lied on, oftentimes the ones that are usually getting manipulated, the ones that care so much that they cannot tell that the other person does not care. Being a good person in a world full of evil people is very hard. But that's the reason why we are here. And it's the reason why we are so strong. So, genuinely good people, we go through the things that we go through because we can't handle it. We've been through the ringer quite a few times. And with that, all these people who do the things that they do with bad mind intentions are trying to break us down and the world down. But with us, the good ones, we have a chance to try and be a role model to anybody who is looking. We are that influence, that positive influence to those that are around us. You never know who is watching. There's always someone watching, meaning that every time that someone is treating you bad, someone is seeing it. And every time that you're doing good, someone has seen it. None of it goes unseen. None of it goes unheard. You're always impacting someone. Or if you're doing evil, you're always upsetting someone, disappointing someone. The best thing I can say is if you are a good person, keep being good. There are very few of us. We need more of them. And honestly, with that, I'm going to cut it off on here because I want to try and keep these things short. Probably like 30 minutes max. Say like 40 minutes max. But with that, I do want to just go ahead and say that I do have a segment called Speak Your Truth, where I have individuals come in and, like I said earlier, they speak their truth, things that they have gone through in life, things that they have overcome. I'm like, if you feel that you have a story that can influence people on a positive level, or even possibly just bring a smile to people's face, even if it's just things you want to come on and just talk about the things that you're grateful for, you have a testimony. Come on. I have a platform because we all have a voice, and I want everybody to use their voice. So, I mean, if you have anything that's positive or even anything that can influence people in a positive way, reach out to me. Let's get your story told. And with that, I do want to say, relax your mind. It's divine time. Oh, also, I go live every Saturday on Facebook and YouTube. With that, we set up the topics the prior week, and I you can either jump in on the live chats on the Facebook. I'll have the links in the show description, or either you can jump in on the YouTube. I'll have the link in the show description as well. But definitely give the show a like, follow, and subscribe. Definitely share with other individuals, because the only way that we can really reach those who need to be reached is pretty much by playing telephone tell a friend and tell a friend. But with that, we out.